The massive doors of the war chamber slid open with a deep hiss. Minho walked inside slowly, his black uniform simple and plain compared to the glittering armor worn by the Keltor warriors around him. His shoes made quiet sounds on the metal floor. Every eye in the room turned to watch him enter. The chamber was huge. It stretched up so high that shadows covered the ceiling. Along the walls stood hundreds of Keltor soldiers, each one taller than any human. Their skin was thick and gray like stone. Their eyes glowed with a dull red light. They held weapons that hummed with energy. The air smelled of metal and something else, something sharp and bitter. At the far end of the room sat Emperor Vaccine on his throne. The throne was made of some kind of black crystal that seemed to drink in the light around it. Vaccine himself was enormous, twice the size of his own soldiers. His armor was covered in symbols that glowed gold. On his head sat a crown with 6 points, each one sharp enough to cut. Minho walked forward. He did not hurry. He did not look afraid. His face showed nothing at all. Behind him, 2 Keltor guards followed, their weapons pointed at his back. They had searched him 3 times before letting him enter the flagship. They had found nothing dangerous. Just a small bag with some papers inside. When Minho reached the center of the room, he stopped. He looked up at Vaccine and waited. "Human," Vaccine said. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. "You stand before the Keltor Empire. You stand before the power that has conquered 1,000 worlds. Do you understand where you are?" "I do," Minho said. His voice was calm and quiet. "Good." Vaccine leaned forward. "Then you understand why we have called you here. Your species has been studied. Your planet has been measured. Your strength has been counted. The result is clear. Humanity is weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. Your soldiers are soft." Around the room, the Keltor warriors made a sound like thunder. They were laughing. Minho said nothing. He simply stood and listened. Vaccine continued. "We have decided to offer you a choice. A gift, really, though you do not deserve it. You may surrender now. Give us your planet. Give us your people. Serve the Empire and you will be allowed to live. You will work for us. You will build for us. But you will live, and if we refuse?" Minho asked. The laughter stopped. The room became very quiet. Vaccine's eyes narrowed. "Then we will take your planet by force. We will burn your cities. We will break your armies. We will make an example of Earth so terrible that every other species in the galaxy will remember it forever. 3 days, human. You have 3 days to accept our terms. After that, we come for you." The Keltor warriors began to cheer. They struck their weapons against the floor. The noise was deafening. It shook the walls. It filled the air with violence. Minho stood in the middle of it all. He did not move. He did not flinch. He waited for the noise to die down. When it finally grew quiet again, he reached into his bag. Every weapon in the room swung toward him. Energy hummed as the guards powered up their guns. Red targeting lights danced across Minho's chest. "Careful, human," Vaccine growled. Minho pulled his hand out slowly. In it, he held a newspaper. It was folded neatly, the pages slightly yellowed. He held it up so everyone could see. The guards looked confused. Several of them lowered their weapons slightly. "What is this?" Vaccine demanded. "What game do you play?" Minho did not answer with words. Instead, he unfolded the newspaper carefully. The sound of paper rustling seemed very loud in the silent chamber. He looked down at it for a moment as if reading something interesting. Then he looked back up at Vaccine and he chuckled. It was a small sound, quiet, almost gentle, but it carried through the chamber like a knife. Vaccine's face darkened. "You dare laugh? You dare mock the Keltor Empire?" "I apologize," Minho said, though his voice did not sound sorry at all. "It's just that this conversation reminds me of something I read recently." He lifted the newspaper higher. "Would you like to see?" "I have no interest in your primitive—" "It's about your fleet," Minho interrupted. His voice was still calm, but now there was something else in it. Something cold. "Your 7th fleet, to be specific. The one you sent to scout our solar system 3 weeks ago." The chamber went very still. Vaccine stared at Minho. "How do you know about the 7th fleet?" "Because they arrived right on schedule," Minho said. He began walking forward toward the throne. The guards moved to stop him, but Vaccine raised one hand. They stepped back, confused. Minho climbed the steps slowly. When he reached the top, he laid the newspaper on the arm of Vaccine's throne. "I thought you might want to know what happened to them." Vaccine looked down at the newspaper. His eyes widened slightly. The headline was written in both human and Keltor languages. It read, Keltor 7th Fleet reported missing near Neptune. Empire silent on fate of 47 warships. Below the headline was a picture. It showed debris floating in space. Pieces of metal. Broken ships. The image was clear enough that Vaccine could see the markings on the wreckage. They were Keltor symbols. Where did you get this? Vaccine's voice was quiet now. Dangerous. I bought it at a newsstand, Minho said. This morning. On Earth. It's yesterday's paper, actually. Old news, as we say. You lie, Vaccine stood up from his throne. The 7th Fleet would never fall to humanity, Minho finished. That's what they thought, too. The Emperor's hands curled into fists. Impossible. Our ships are superior in every way. Our weapons were never fired, Minho said. Your fleet entered our solar system exactly where we expected them to. They moved into position around Neptune, just as our intelligence predicted. They powered up their scanning equipment. And then, he paused. Well, you can read the article for the details. Vaccine grabbed the newspaper and stared at it. His eyes moved across the text, reading quickly. As he read, his face changed. The anger drained away, replaced by something else, something that looked almost like fear. This cannot be true, he whispered. Feel free to check, Minho said. Try to contact your 7th Fleet, I'll wait. The chamber erupted in noise. Keltor officers began shouting at each other. Some demanded answers. Others insisted it was a human trick. Vaccine stood frozen, the newspaper trembling in his massive hands. Minho watched it all calmly. Then he turned and walked back down the steps. He stopped at the center of the room and looked up at the Emperor. You said we had 3 days to surrender, Minho said. His voice cut through the chaos. I have a counteroffer. You have 3 minutes to hear the truth about humanity. After that, you can decide if you still want this war. He reached into his bag again and pulled out a small device. May I? Vaccine stared at the small device in Minho's hand. It looked harmless. A simple rectangle of metal and glass. But after seeing the newspaper, the Emperor was not sure what to believe anymore. What is that? Vaccine asked. A datapad, Minho said. It contains information. Things you should know before you make your final decision about Earth. I need no information from you, Vaccine said. But his voice lacked its earlier strength. The 7th Fleet was just one group of ships. We have hundreds more, thousands. I know, Minho said. I've read your military reports. Very impressive numbers. He tapped the device and a holographic image appeared in the air above it. But numbers don't tell the whole story, do they? The hologram showed a star map. The Keltor Empire was marked in red, spreading across a large section of the galaxy. Earth was a tiny blue dot near the edge. This is how you see the galaxy, Minho said. The mighty Keltor Empire and the insignificant humans hiding in their small corner of space. He tapped the device again. The image changed. Now there were new markers on the map. Green dots. Hundreds of them. They formed a ring around Keltor space, clustered near major trade routes and military bases. What are those? One of the Keltor officers demanded. Human observation posts, Minho said simply. We've been watching you for 5 years. The room erupted in angry shouts. Several officers stepped forward, their weapons raised. But Vaccine held up his hand again and they stopped. Impossible, Vaccine said. We would have detected you. You would think so, Minho agreed. Your sensors are quite good. Some of the best in the galaxy, actually. But here's something interesting about humans. We're very good at hiding. He tapped the device again. The hologram zoomed in on one of the green dots. It showed a small space station, barely larger than a closet. It was covered in strange panels that seemed to drink in light. This is Observation Post 47, Minho explained. It sits 3 kilometers from your 3rd Fleet's home base. It's been there for 2 years. Your ships pass by it every day. You've never seen it, lies, an officer growled. Minho shrugged. Check your own records. Specifically, check the fuel consumption reports from the 3rd Fleet. You'll notice small discrepancies. Tiny amounts of fuel going missing. Not enough to cause alarm, but enough to notice if you look carefully. Vaccine's eyes narrowed. What does that have to do with... We were taking your fuel, Minho said. Small amounts every few weeks. Just enough to keep our observation post running. Just enough to prove we were really there. He smiled slightly. We could have stayed hidden forever. But where's the fun in that? The Emperor sat back down on his throne. He still held the newspaper in one hand. "The Seventh Fleet," he said quietly. "Tell me what really happened." "Of course," Minho said. He tapped the device several times. New images appeared. These showed Neptune, the blue gas giant on the edge of Earth's solar system. Around it floated pieces of Keltor ships. "Your fleet arrived exactly on schedule," Minho began. "We knew they were coming. We've known about this invasion plan for 6 months. Your security is not as good as you think." A Keltor officer started to protest, but Vaccine silenced him with a look. "The Seventh Fleet consisted of 47 warships," Minho continued. "Each one was 3 kilometers long. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. You sent them to scout our defenses, to see what we had, to count our ships and weapons, and," Vaccine leaned forward. "And they never got the chance," Minho said, "because we didn't let them see anything." The hologram changed. It now showed a Keltor warship moving through space. It looked powerful and dangerous. Then suddenly the front of the ship seemed to crumple inward, metal bent and twisted. A moment later the entire ship broke apart. "What weapon did that?" an officer whispered. "A rock," Minho said. Silence filled the chamber. "I'm sorry?" Vaccine said. "Did you say a rock?" Minho repeated. "A piece of iron ore, to be specific, weighing about 200 kilograms. We accelerated it to 90% of light speed and let it hit your ship." He paused. "At that velocity, it doesn't matter what it's made of. Everything becomes a weapon." The hologram showed more ships. One by one, they were destroyed. Each time the cause was the same. A simple piece of metal or rock moving at impossible speeds. The Keltor ships never had time to react. Their shields didn't matter. Their armor meant nothing. 47 ships, Minho said quietly. Destroyed in 47 seconds. Not a single human ship was spotted. Not a single shot was fired from a traditional weapon. Just rocks. Just physics. Vaccine stared at the images. His face had gone pale, which was impressive for someone with gray skin. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Why show me these things?" Minho turned off the hologram. He put the device back in his bag. Then he walked closer to the throne and looked up at the Emperor. "Because I want you to understand something," Minho said. "When you look at Earth, you see primitives. You see a species that just learned to leave their own planet. You see weapons that seem simple, ships that seem slow, and you think we're weak?" He pulled out the newspaper again and pointed at the headline. "But here's what you don't understand," Minho continued. "Humans have been killing each other for thousands of years. We've gotten very good at it. We've learned every possible way to hurt and destroy. We've turned murder into a science. And then, 50 years ago, we decided to stop fighting each other and start preparing for you." "For us?" Vaccine asked. "For anyone," Minho corrected. "We knew we weren't alone in the universe. We knew someone would come eventually. Someone bigger, someone stronger, someone who would see us as weak and try to take what's ours." He folded the newspaper and placed it back on the throne's arm. "So we prepared," Minho said. "We studied every species we could find. We learned your languages. We hacked your computers. We mapped your territories. We learned everything about you while you learned nothing about us." "And the Seventh Fleet?" Vaccine asked. "That was your preparation?" "That was a test," Minho said. "We wanted to see if our theories were correct. We wanted to know if kinetic weapons would work against your shields, and now we know." He smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "They work very well." The Emperor looked down at the newspaper again. "This article," he said slowly. "It says the fleet is missing. It doesn't say you destroyed it." "That's correct," Minho nodded. "We haven't told our people the full truth yet. We wanted to give you a chance first." "A chance to what?" "To withdraw," Minho said simply. "To take your fleets and go home. To forget about Earth and find someone else to bother." "And if we refuse?" Vaccine's voice was hard again, but there was doubt in his eyes. Minho reached into his bag one more time. He pulled out another newspaper. This one was still sealed in plastic, unread. "Then tomorrow's paper," he said, laying it on the throne, "will have a much longer headline. It will list every Keltor fleet, every ship, every base, and it will explain in great detail what happened to all of them." He turned and began walking toward the door. "The Seventh Fleet was just 23, Minho called back over his shoulder. "They were your scouts, your observers. Now imagine what we'll do to your actual invasion force." He reached the door and stopped. Without turning around, he spoke one more time. "You have 3 days to decide, Emperor. Use them wisely." Then he was gone. leaving behind a room full of silent Keltor warriors and an emperor holding 2 newspapers with shaking hands. Minho sat in a small room on the lower deck of the Keltor flagship. They had not let him leave yet. 2 guards stood outside his door, their weapons ready. He did not mind. He had expected this. The room was bare except for a metal bench and a single light in the ceiling. Minho sat on the bench and waited. He knew Vaccine would come. The Emperor would have questions. They always did, he was right. After 1 hour, the door opened. Vaccine entered alone. The Emperor had to duck his head to fit through the doorway. Without his crown, he looked smaller somehow. More ordinary. Your guards? Minho asked. Outside, Vaccine said. I wanted to speak with you privately. I see. Minho gestured to the bench. Please sit. Vaccine looked at the bench. It was far too small for him. I will stand. As you wish. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Vaccine studied Minho with his red eyes. Minho sat calmly, his hands folded in his lap. Finally, Vaccine said, My officers want to kill you. I expected that. They say you are lying. They say the 7th Fleet is fine and this is all a trick. Are they correct? Minho asked. Vaccine's jaw tightened. I tried to contact the 7th Fleet, no response. I checked the fuel reports you mentioned. The discrepancies are real, he paused. I also checked other things. Ship maintenance records, patrol routes, communications logs. There are anomalies everywhere. Small things, things we dismissed as errors or accidents. But now you see the pattern, Minho finished. Yes, Vaccine admitted. Now I see it. He moved closer, looming over Minho. So explain it to me, human. Explain how your weak species could do this. Your planet has no unified government. Your people fight each other constantly. You have barely left your own solar system. How? Minho stood up. Even standing, he only reached Vaccine's chest. But he did not seem intimidated. You want to understand humans? Minho asked. Then let me tell you a story. A true story from our history. He began to pace slowly in the small room. Hundreds of years ago, there was a weapon called a bow and arrow. Simple technology. A bent stick and a string. You pull back, you release, the arrow flies, easy. I know what a bow is, Vaccine growled. Then you know it's a simple weapon, Minho continued. Any species could make one. But humans didn't stop there. We studied it. We tested it. We asked questions. How far can an arrow fly? How fast? How much power does it carry? What happens if we change the wood? The string? The arrow's shape? He stopped pacing and looked up at Vaccine. We spent thousands of years perfecting the bow and arrow. Thousands of years on a weapon that any child could understand. And by the end, we could shoot an arrow through armor. Through shields. We could hit a target from a distance so great that the target couldn't even see us. All from a bent stick. What is your point? Vaccine asked. My point, Minho said, is that humans don't just use weapons. We obsess over them. We think about them constantly. We dream about new ways to hurt our enemies. It's not something we're proud of, but it's who we are. He walked to the wall and touched it. You have energy weapons, Minho said. Very powerful. They can melt metal, destroy cities, but they have limitations. They require enormous amounts of power. They can be blocked by shields. They leave signatures that can be detected from far away. They are still superior to your kinetic weapons, Vaccine said. Are they? Minho smiled. Let me tell you about kinetic weapons. They are simple. You take an object. You make it go very fast. It hits something. That's all. No power source needed after launch. No energy signature. Nothing to detect until it's too late, and at high enough speeds nothing can stop them. He turned back to face Vaccine. While you were perfecting energy weapons, we were perfecting kinetic ones. We learned to accelerate objects to incredible speeds. We learned to aim them with perfect accuracy. We learned to make them invisible to sensors, and we learned to make millions of them. Millions. Vaccine's eyes widened. Every piece of debris in our solar system is a potential weapon, Minho explained. Every asteroid. Every comet. Every chunk of rock or metal. We've cataloged them all. We know their positions, their velocities, their compositions, and we have the ability to redirect them whenever we want. He pulled out his datapad again and showed Vaccine a new image. It displayed Earth's solar system. Around it floated countless red dots. These are our defensive platforms, Minho said. Each one is small, automated, hidden. They can take any object nearby and turn it into a weapon moving at 90% of light speed. There are 50,000 of them scattered throughout our solar system. Vaccine stared at the image. 50,000. And that's just the first layer of defense, Minho continued. We also have our ships, of course. You've seen some of them. Slow, you said. Primitive. But there's something you don't know about our ships. The image changed, showing a human spacecraft. It looked clunky and old compared to sleek Keltor vessels. Our ships don't need to be fast, Minho explained, because they don't fight like your ships fight. They don't chase enemies. They don't engage in direct combat. Instead, they hide, they wait, and when the moment is right, they release their weapons and disappear. Cowardly, Vaccine muttered. Effective, Minho corrected. Your ships are designed to look impressive, to show your power. Our ships are designed to kill efficiently. There's a difference. He swiped through more images. Each one showed a different human weapons system. Railguns, missile swarms, drone networks, cyber warfare platforms. We also learned something interesting about your ships, Minho said. They're all connected to each other through a central network. Very efficient. It lets them coordinate perfectly. Share information instantly. Act as one unit, yes, Vaccine said proudly. Our fleet coordination is unmatched in the galaxy. It's also your greatest weakness, Minho said quietly. Vaccine's expression darkened. What do you mean? Networks can be hacked, Minho said simply. And humans are very good at hacking. We've been practicing on each other for decades. Breaking into banks, stealing secrets, disrupting enemies. We know every trick, every vulnerability, every backdoor. He showed Vaccine another image. This one was a Keltor ship's command interface. This is from your Third Fleet's flagship, Minho said. We took this screenshot 2 days ago, while sitting in our observation post, 3 kilometers away. Your security never noticed us logging into their systems. Vaccine's hands clenched into fists. If you could access our systems, why didn't you destroy us then? Because we didn't want to, Minho said. We don't want war, Emperor. We never did. We just wanted to be ready in case war came to us. He put the data pad away. That's what you don't understand about humanity, Minho said. We're not warriors because we enjoy fighting. We're warriors because we've learned what happens when you're not ready. We've learned the price of weakness. He moved toward the door, then stopped. There's a saying on Earth, Minho said. If you want peace, prepare for war. So that's what we did. While you were conquering 1,000 worlds, we were preparing for the day when you would come for World 1001. And now? Vaccine asked. Now you have a choice, Minho said. You can see what we've shown you and be wise. Or you can ignore it and be destroyed. It's that simple. The door opened. The guards outside looked surprised to see their Emperor inside. I'm ready to leave now, Minho told them. Please take me back to my ship. The guards looked at Vaccine for confirmation. The Emperor nodded slowly. As Minho walked past him, Vaccine spoke one more time. Your planet really would fight? He asked. Knowing they would face the entire Keltor Empire? Knowing the cost? Minho stopped. He thought about Earth, about his home, about the billions of people living their lives under blue skies. There's another saying on Earth, Minho said without turning around. Live free or die. We mean it literally. Then he walked out, leaving Vaccine alone in the small room with his thoughts. The War Council met again 12 hours later. This time, the mood was very different. The confident laughter from before was gone. The Keltor officers stood in tight groups, whispering to each other. Their faces showed doubt and fear. Vaccine sat on his throne and watched them argue. His crown felt heavy on his head. The newspapers still lay on the arm of his throne. He had read them both a dozen times. We should kill the human, Admiral Corvus said. He was the oldest officer present, with scars covering his gray skin. Kill him and proceed with the invasion as planned. Show the galaxy that the Keltor Empire fears nothing. And if what he said was true, another officer asked. This was General Tovan, younger but cautious. If they really destroyed the 7th Fleet? Then we destroy them in return, Corvus growled. We send everything. Every ship. Every soldier. We turn their planet into dust. With what? A third voice asked. This was Commander Nexus, the fleet intelligence officer. She stepped forward, holding a data pad similar to the one Minho had shown. I've spent the last 12 hours checking the humans' claims. Everything he said was accurate. The 7th Fleet is gone. Our fuel reports show discrepancies. Our sensor logs show anomalies. And I found something else. She activated a hologram. It showed the Keltor home system. Around their primary military base, several green dots appeared. These are human observation posts, Nexus explained. I found them using the search parameters the humans suggested. They've been there for years, watching us, recording everything. The room fell silent. How many? Vaccine asked quietly. In our home system? 7 that I've confirmed, but I suspect there are more throughout the Empire. Impossible, Corvus said. Our sensors are excellent at detecting what they're designed to detect, Nexus interrupted. Energy signatures, heat, movement. But the human observation posts don't emit any of those things. They're completely passive. They just watch and record. Vaccine stood up from his throne. What else did you find? Nexus hesitated. Your Majesty, I also checked our military network security. The human was right. There are unauthorized access points throughout our systems. Someone has been inside our computers for a very long time. How long? At least 3 years? Maybe longer. The officers began shouting again. Some demanded immediate action. Others called for a full security review. A few suggested retreating to defensive positions. Vaccine raised his hand and the room quieted. Bring the human back, he ordered. I want to speak with him again. 20 minutes later, Minho returned to the war chamber. This time he walked in without guards. His face showed the same calm expression as before. Emperor, Minho said, bowing slightly. You asked for me? I did, Vaccine said. He came down from his throne and walked to the center of the room. For the first time, he met the human on equal ground. My officers have confirmed your claims. The 7th Fleet is truly gone. Your observation posts are real. You have been inside our systems. Yes, Minho said simply. So now I must ask you a question, and I need you to answer truthfully. Can you destroy the Keltor Empire? The room held its breath. Minho considered the question carefully. Define destroy, he finally said. Could you kill us all? Vaccine clarified. Could you end our species? No, Minho said. We don't have that capability. You're too spread out, too numerous. Even with all our weapons, we couldn't reach every Keltor world. Some of the officers looked relieved. But Vaccine's expression didn't change. But you could hurt us, the Emperor said. Badly. Yes, Minho agreed. We could hurt you very badly. We could destroy your fleets, cripple your military, disrupt your supply lines, make you weak. And then what? Corvus demanded. Then other species would attack us. Our enemies would smell blood in the water. They would tear us apart. Probably, Minho said. He didn't sound pleased about it. Just honest. Vaccine returned to his throne and sat down heavily. So we find ourselves in an interesting position. If we attack you, we die. If we retreat, we look weak. Either way, the Empire suffers. There is a third option, Minho said, which is, you do nothing, Minho said. You forget about Earth. You never mention this meeting. You tell your people the 7th Fleet was lost to a navigation accident, a tragic malfunction. These things happen in space. You want us to lie? Tovan asked. I want you to survive, Minho corrected. And I want my people to survive. This benefits both of us. Vaccine leaned back in his throne. And what's to stop us from coming back later? When we've prepared? When we found ways around your defenses? Minho smiled. By then we'll have new defenses. Better ones. You see, Emperor, that's another thing about humans. We never stop improving. Every day we get a little bit smarter, a little bit more dangerous. If you come back in 10 years, you'll find us 10 years more advanced. In 100 years, you won't recognize us. He pulled out his datapad one more time. But there's something else you should consider, Minho continued. Right now, at this moment, Earth has no interest in expansion. We're happy in our solar system. We have no desire to conquer or colonize. We just want to be left alone. For now, Corvus said suspiciously. For now, Minho agreed, but that could change. If you force us to become conquerors, if you make us into warriors, then we will become very good at it. We always do, and then we won't be your problem. We'll be everyone's problem. He showed them a final image. It displayed a map of the galaxy with dozens of species marked in different colors. Earth was still a small blue dot, but now lines extended from it to every other species. We've been watching all of you, Minho said quietly. Not just the Keltor, everyone, every species, every government, every military. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your secrets. We've been preparing for all of you. The room went very cold. So here's my offer. Minho said, putting away the datapad. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. Stay out of our solar system, and we'll stay out of your empire. Never bother us again, and we'll never give you a reason to regret it. And if we refuse? Vaccine asked. But his voice was tired now. The fight had gone out of him. Minho reached into his bag and pulled out a third newspaper. This one was sealed in plastic, just like the one from before, but the date on it was from tomorrow. He walked up to the throne and placed it beside the other two newspapers. Then tomorrow's paper will be very interesting, Minho said. It will have a headline about the Keltor Empire, about how it declared war on humanity, about what happened next. He looked up at Vaccine with eyes that were suddenly very cold. It will explain how we disabled your fleets, how we hacked your systems, how we turned your own ships against each other. It will include casualty numbers, estimated costs, political consequences. He paused. It will be the most expensive newspaper ever printed. Because by the time people finish reading it, the Keltor Empire will no longer be the dominant power in the galaxy. Vaccine stared at the sealed newspaper. His hands trembled. But that's just one possible future, Minho said, his voice softening. There's another one. One where this meeting never happened. Where the 7th Fleet had an accident. Where the Keltor Empire decided to explore other directions. Where Earth remained a small, unimportant planet that nobody bothered with. He stepped back and bowed. The choice is yours, Emperor. Choose wisely. Then he turned and walked toward the door. This time nobody tried to stop him. As he reached the exit, Vaccine called out, "Why?" Minho stopped. Why what? Why offer us this choice? Why not just destroy us when you had the chance? Minho looked back over his shoulder. Because we're tired of war, Emperor. We've been fighting for thousands of years. We're good at it, too good. And we're tired. He opened the door. We're hoping the rest of the galaxy can be smarter than we were. Then he was gone. Vaccine sat alone on his throne, surrounded by his officers. In his hands he held 3 newspapers. The past, the present, and a possible future. After a long moment, he made his decision. The transport ship carrying Minho left the Keltor flagship 2 hours later. As it moved away, the massive warship grew smaller in the viewing port. Minho sat in the passenger section and watched it disappear into the darkness of space. He was not alone. 3 Keltor guards sat with him, weapons ready, but they had not been given orders to do anything except watch. So they watched. After an hour of silent travel, one of the guards spoke. Is it true? The guard asked. His voice was young, uncertain. What you said about the 7th Fleet? Minho looked at him. The guard was barely more than a boy by Keltor standards. His armor looked new, yes, Minho said. It's true. All those ships, the guard whispered. All those people. Gone in seconds. Yes. The guard was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, are humans really that dangerous? Minho thought about the question. He thought about Earth, about humanity's long history of violence and survival, about the weapons they had built and the preparations they had made. Yes, he said finally. We are, but we don't want to be. The guard didn't seem to understand. Minho didn't explain further. Some things were too complicated to put into words. The transport ship reached the neutral zone 3 hours later. There, waiting for them, was a human vessel. It was small and dark, almost invisible against the stars. Compared to the massive Keltor flagship, it looked like a toy. But Minho knew what that small ship could do. He knew about the weapons hidden inside, the systems designed to kill, the crew trained for war. The transport docked with the human ship. As Minho prepared to leave, the young guard spoke again. Will there be peace? He asked. I don't know, Minho admitted. That depends on your emperor. He stepped through the airlock and into his own ship. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. Inside, a woman waited for him. She was small and thin, wearing a simple gray uniform. Her name was Jisoo, and she was Minho's assistant and colleague. How did it go? Jisoo asked. As expected, Minho said. He moved to the pilot's chair and began checking the ship's systems. Everything looked normal. Vaccine tried to threaten us. I showed him the newspapers. He didn't believe me at first. Then he did. And now he's scared, Minho said. Which means he's thinking. That's good, Jisoo nodded. She had been through situations like this before. 17 times, to be exact. Each time a different species had threatened Earth. Each time Minho or someone like him had shown them the truth. And each time the species had backed down. Did you show him everything? Jisoo asked. No, Minho said. I showed him enough. The kinetic weapons, the observation posts, the hacking. But I didn't tell him about the quantum communications network, or the antimatter production facilities, or the AI fleet coordinators. Good, Jisoo said. Always keep some secrets. Always, Minho agreed. The human ship undocked and began moving away. Behind them, the Keltor transport turned back toward the flagship. Soon they would report to Vaccine. They would tell him that the human ambassador had left safely, and then the Emperor would make his choice. 3 days later, the answer came. Minho was at home on Earth when he received the message. He lived in a small apartment in Seoul, nothing fancy, just a place to sleep and think. His walls were covered with maps of the galaxy. Red dots showed potential threats. Green dots showed allies. Blue dots showed neutral species. There were a lot of red dots. The message arrived on his secure terminal. It was short and official. Minho read it twice to make sure he understood correctly. Then he smiled. Jisoo, he called. You're going to want to see this. Jisoo appeared from the kitchen holding a cup of tea. What is it? Message from the Keltor Empire, Minho said. Official declaration. They're withdrawing all military forces from human space. They're closing their observation posts near our territory, and they're issuing a formal apology for the loss of the 7th Fleet, which they're calling a tragic accident caused by equipment malfunction. Jisoo set down her tea. They agreed. They agreed, Minho confirmed. For a moment, they both just stood there. It was rare to feel relief in their line of work. But this was one of those moments. We should celebrate, Jisoo said. We should work, Minho corrected. He pulled up a star map on his terminal. The Keltor Empire is withdrawing, but look here. The Draxian Confederacy is getting aggressive near the outer colonies. And the Vasari Collective just launched 3 new supercarriers. Jisoo sighed. There's always something. Always, Minho agreed. But even as he said it, he felt satisfaction. Earth was safe for now, and that was worth the work. That evening, Minho went for a walk. Seoul was beautiful at night with light stretching to the horizon. Millions of people lived here, going about their lives, shopping, eating, laughing. They had no idea how close they had come to war. And that was fine. That was how it should be. Minho bought a newspaper from a street vendor. The headline read, Keltor Empire announces military restructuring. Earth not mentioned in official statement. He smiled at the headline. It was perfect. The Keltor got to save face. Earth got to remain insignificant. Everyone was happy, or at least everyone was alive. That counted for something. The next day, news of the Keltor's decision spread throughout the galaxy. Other species heard about it. They noticed that the mighty Keltor Empire, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, had suddenly decided to leave one small planet alone. They wondered why. Some species sent ambassadors to Earth. They wanted to talk, to negotiate, to understand what made humanity special. Minho met with each one. Sometimes he showed them newspapers. Sometimes he showed them data pads. Sometimes he just talked. But the message was always the same. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. Most species agreed quickly. They had seen what happened to the 7th Fleet. They had heard the rumors. They decided that maybe Earth wasn't worth the trouble. A few species needed more convincing. For them, Minho had other demonstrations prepared. Small ones. Nothing too violent. Just enough to make a point, a trade. Convoy that suddenly couldn't navigate through human space because their computers stopped working. A military base that found all its communications mysteriously jammed for exactly 1 hour. A planetary governor who received a package containing detailed files about his secret bank accounts and illegal activities. Each demonstration was surgical, precise, impossible to trace back to Earth officially. But the message was clear. We can reach you. We can hurt you. Don't make us prove it. Within 6 months, 17 species had signed non-aggression pacts with Earth. Within a year, that number doubled. Earth became known as the planet you didn't bother. The species you left alone, it wasn't respect exactly. It was something else. Something between fear and caution. But it worked. Humanity remained in its solar system. They didn't expand. They didn't conquer. They just watched and prepared and made sure everyone knew the cost of attacking them. Years passed. The story of the Keltor 7th Fleet became a legend. Some species claimed it never happened. Others said it was exaggerated. But none of them tested it. Earth's observation post continued to watch. The kinetic weapon platforms remained ready. The hackers stayed inside alien networks, invisible and patient, and ambassadors like Minho continued their work. Meeting with aliens, showing them newspapers, making sure everyone remembered the same lesson. Don't start fights you can't finish. One evening, 10 years after the meeting with Vaccine, Minho sat in his apartment and looked at his maps. The red dots had decreased. The blue dots had increased. Earth was safer than it had ever been. Jisoo sat across from him working on her own terminal. "Do you ever wonder?" she asked without looking up. "If we could have done things differently?" "How do you mean?" Minho asked. "All this preparation, all these weapons, all this fear we've created. Could we have achieved peace without it?" Minho thought about the question. He thought about all the species that had threatened Earth, all the wars that could have happened, all the lives that would have been lost. "No," he said finally, "I don't think so. The galaxy respects strength. Without our weapons, without our preparations, we would have been conquered or destroyed. Peace doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being too dangerous to attack." "That's a sad way to look at things," Jisoo said. "Maybe," Minho agreed. "But it's true." He looked out his window at the Seoul skyline. Somewhere out there, children were playing, families were having dinner. People were living their lives in safety and comfort. They didn't know about the weapons orbiting above them. They didn't know about the wars that had been prevented. They didn't know about ambassadors sitting in war chambers, showing newspapers to alien emperors, and that was fine. "We carry the burden," Minho said quietly, "so they don't have to." Jisoo looked up at him and smiled. "When did you become a philosopher?" "When I had to explain to 17 different species why they shouldn't try to kill us," Minho said. He smiled back. "You learn a lot about yourself when your job is preventing wars." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, the city continued its endless motion. Above, stars twinkled in the night sky, and somewhere in that vast darkness, alien species looked toward Earth and remembered the Seventh Fleet, remembered the newspaper, remembered the human ambassador who had chuckled at an empire's threats, and they decided to leave humanity alone. That night, Minho went to sleep knowing Earth was safe, not because everyone loved humanity,